Welcome to Shore Support, a program that highlights organizations who enhance the lives of our community through charitable efforts. I'm your host, Nathan Magno, and on today's episode, we'll be discussing environmental cleaning. Nature is the foundation that our health and well-being hinges upon. A healthy ecosystem reflects a healthy livelihood, and we'll be joined by two guests to talk about how to protect and support our local environments. Joining us now is Dr. Stan Hales, Director for Barnegat Bay Partnership. Thank you for joining us today, Stan.
It's a pleasure to be here, Nathan. Thanks for the invite.
What is the overall mission of the Barnegat Bay Partnership?
Well, we're one of the nation's 28 estuary programs, national estuary programs, and the mission for all of them is to protect, restore, and enhance those environments. In addition, locally, because our goals are set by our local partners, we also promote the sustainable use of the Bay's living resources.
So what are some of the key challenges that Barnegat Bay Partnership aims to address?
Well, we've got lots of challenges in the Barnegat Bay, and most of them fundamentally come down to land use. You know, since 1950, when the Parkway was built through Ocean County, the population in this area has grown tremendously, and with that it brought a lot of changes to the environment and lots of different things. And in addition to that, we also know that the climate is changing around us, sea level is rising, so we face, you know, a wealth of issues. But in conversations with all of our partners who set our agenda, we have four major priorities: water quality, water supply, the Bay's living resources, and land use. And we view all of those through a lens of climate change, so that in any decision making we make, any decisions we make basically address climate change and sea level rise.
Right. Regarding in those four areas, can you tell us about some of the research that you do and what kind of information you found recently about the progress of the Bay?
Yeah, well, we don't do a lot of research ourselves, but we do fund a lot of research by other organizations. And we also partner with lots of great groups working in the Bay. And so, just to start at the list, we were established by a little piece of federal law called the Clean Water Act. That's what established the National Estuary Program. Water quality is our highest priority. And we've been working with the EPA and New Jersey DEP and other groups to address the Bay's water quality issues. And over the past 10 years, we've collected a lot of information that will enable the DEP to promote what's called a total maximum daily load, or a TMDL, regarding the nutrient loads that are delivered to the Bay. So essentially, DEP is putting the Bay on kind of a nutrient diet, and that's going to govern the actions and other steps that we take. We don't regulate anything at all, but we work with groups to do various projects and educational activities to teach people a better way of doing things.
Right. Could you go more in depth about the educational programs that you host so teachers and students can better engage about environmental protection?
Well, again, we work through a lot of partners. One of the projects we have right now is here at Ocean County College. We fund a project that's being done by Dr. Henry Jackson. It's called the Healthy Gardens, Healthy School program. And Dr. Jackson and a lot of our partners are out into the schools actually installing small vegetable gardens in those schools and delivering a lot of other programming which teaches people about the connections between health and environmental health and human health. You know, grow some connections about how to take care of their yard, how to grow those vegetables. And it has some other beneficial effects as well too. You know, people get exposed to new foods and other ways of doing things.
Right, of course. And what do you hope to gain out of like those programs? What do you hope to teach to that community?
We want a better educated populace, and you know, one of the best ways to reach adults is through their grandchildren. So if you teach kids, they carry the messages home to others, and you can reach kids in some different ways, and also kids are going to have a longer life of dealing with that message. So you know, we're growing it from the ground up. Right. And that project at OCC is not the only one we're doing. We fund the Pinelands Preservation Alliance, which has a program. It's Experience Barnegat Bay. It gets kids out into the environment. So It provides outdoor activities, educational, sociological, recreational, etc. It just helps grow people interacting in the environment, making them more comfortable in those surroundings.
Right. That communal interaction is very much key to building up that awareness.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And especially because you mentioned in your research regarding for environmental protection in those 4 areas. Can you tell us about some of the different species that call Barnegat Bay their home?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'd love to. I was trained as a fish biologist, and one of the first species I want everyone to know about is the mummichog. It's a tiny little killifish. It lives in the marshes. Like some of the other animals in the bay, it's in and out of the water. It actually lays its eggs out of the water. And the eggs, after they undergo a developmental period in the air, and then don't hatch until they're soaked in water again. So mummichogs are small. They live everywhere. They're one of the most common forage fishes in the bay. They impact almost everything through what they eat or what eats them. So that would be one thing. I think one of everybody's favorite vertebrates, and one that's very popular with lots of tourists, is the diamondback terrapin. It's the only turtle that lives its entire life in the estuary. There are a lot of programs by a lot of different partners and educational groups that basically put barriers along the edges of roads to keep female terrapins from crossing roads. There are partners that go around and collect squash terrapins out on the road and try to harvest the eggs and actually hatch the eggs to release back into the wild. And we get a couple of phone calls a week about what should I do with my baby terrapin? You know, people that find tiny little turtles crawling across the roadway this time of year. And turtles coming out of the ground this time of year are actually eggs that were put in the ground last year and then overwintered. And the best thing everyone can do with those is get them off of a road.
Right, and especially because with the summer months, there's a lot of people wanting to go out for vacation and doing a lot of that ecotourism. Could you provide some local spots where visitors can experience the greatest diversity of the bay's ecosystem?
Yeah, that's easy to do. The first thing I would do is to tell everybody to go to Island Beach State Park, and I need to acknowledge someone who played a great part in that. New Jersey's very fortunate in that Pete McLean, who worked for New Jersey DEP for many years, was one of the first people that actually took federal dollars to buy open space. And so he bought most of the property that we now know as Island Beach State Park. I think statewide, Pete, through the department, bought something like 18,000 acres. And that's an incredible legacy for the people of New Jersey. So go to Island Beach State Park, look at the whales out in the surf, enjoy the beach, the fish, everything that you can do. Just don't walk through the SAV beds, and enjoy everything that Island Beach has to offer. That's what a beach really looks like.
Oh, hot diggity.
Other places to go would be some of the county parks. Caddis Island County Park and Berkeley Island County Park actually have a wealth of bay habitats, forest habitats. One of the highest bluffs on the bay is at Caddis Island County Park. Those are great places. A lot of townships, you know, have beachfront areas, Lavalette, Brick, Toms River. I mean, the list goes on. And my staff tells me that you can find incredible wildlife at some of the waterfront bars.
Wow.
Yes. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Forsyth Refuge, which has a number of sites around Barnegat Bay, in particular Good Luck Point.
Right. But there's a lot to look forward to during the summer, and especially for those looking to take a walk, those spots you would recommend to them.
Yes, absolutely.
And looking ahead, what are some of the future goals and priorities for the partnership in its mission to protect and restore the Barnegat Bay ecosystem?
That's a great question. Addressing climate change is increasingly at the forefront of what we do. And sea level is rising, the bay is changing, and things are going to continue to change. And so anyone who lives at the water's edge is concerned about their future. And, you know, scientists aren't the best at always predicting, exactly at what rate things will happen, so there's always a little bit of uncertainty in that. But everyone needs to prepare for the bay's water levels rising, and that means we're going to have to take some different steps.
Right.
Yeah, it's you know, a lot of people think that a seawall will provide a lot of protection, but the reality is that there's almost no seawall you could build or that all of us can afford to build that provide the kind of protection that everybody would like. And one of the things that we know is that natural environments, wetlands, SAV beds, things like that, in an undisturbed system, they will actually keep pace with sea level rise. And the unfortunate thing in New Jersey is that so much of the shoreline has been altered. You know, we've put up a seawall, bulkheading, etc., and those structures interrupt the flow of materials through the system.
Right.
So normally a river carries a lot of sediment downstream. If you have a piece of property that goes down to the water's edge, you know that things always kind of move downhill with the flow of the water, and it accumulates at the water's edge.
Right.
That's one of the things that those grasses do, is they trap the sediment so they continue to rise.
Right. So what should our viewers do to be more aware as they go down to the beaches this summer?
I guess I have some really, really good words of encouragement. Enjoy the bay. I mean, and enjoy being at the beach. You know, this is a beautiful area, and that's why so many people move to this area and flock to it during the summer. You know, have a great time. We all do. The second thing is, I think increasingly you need to be a little more aware of everything that's going on around you. Things are changing, and you need to, when you make a decision, you come down here to buy a property or just spend your vacation time, note that nature and environment may not always be the same.
Right.
I've had a couple of builders tell me when they were little kids driving their bikes through Mystic Island, they thought it was great they could drive through a couple of feet of water, but when they became builders of high-end homes, they realized that wasn't such a good thing.
Right. So where can our viewers find more information to volunteer or participate with your organization?
Check out any of our websites, and we'll get that information to you online.
Nice. Stan, thank you for taking the time to be here with us today.
My pleasure, Nathan. Thank you very much.
We'll continue our discussion with Cindy Ziff, Executive Director for Clean Ocean Action, right after this.
Be right there. Wait. Use the shovel and bucket of water, remember? Drown, stir, drown, feel. Then make sure it's cool.
Where'd you learn that?
SmokeyBear.com. Brushed up on some tips before we left. Don't want to start a wildfire, right?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Ocean County is home to 44 miles of ocean coastline with some of the best beaches in the country. Ocean County is also Barnegat Bay, nature walks, boardwalks, farms, and a host of attractions that make vacation time here a great time. Hi, this is Ocean County freeholder Jerry Little. While you are here relaxing and enjoying all the wonderful things to see and do in Ocean County, we'd like to remind you of the importance of recycling. In Ocean County, we never take a vacation from recycling. Keeping our environment clean is a priority for the Board of Freeholders, and recycling comes with many benefits for our towns and our environment. So whether you're at the beach, on the bay, or just relaxing in your backyard, please remember cans, bottles, magazines, newspapers, and cardboard boxes all need to be recycled. It's just as important here in Ocean County as it is in your hometown.
You need some help?
Your tow chains are a little loose. Could spark a wildfire. I could show you how to secure them properly if you'd like.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
Anytime. You should check out SmokeyBear.com. They've got a bunch of tips on wildfire prevention.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Shore Support. I'm Nathan Magno, and with me now is Cindy Ziff, Executive Director for Clean Ocean Action. Thank you, Cindy, for coming out today.
Thank you, Nathan, for having me join the show. I'm really excited about it.
So what is the overall mission of Clean Ocean Action?
Well, it's kind of really in our name. Clean Ocean Action, we work to clean up the ocean with action. We also, we do that utilizing research programs and initiatives, education initiatives, and advocacy programs. But it's all driven to focus on the marine environment and basically in an area that is just off the New York and New Jersey coast, this little triangle that's very special and very unique, and with a lot of species. We have 350 species of fish. We have 33 species of mammals in our area. We have 5 species of sea turtles that all come by the Jersey Shore at some point. There's only 7 on the planet, and 5 come to visit us along the Jersey Shore, and all of them are endangered species. We have hundreds of birds, and it really is a very, very exciting and very unique habitat that marine life is just thriving in now that we've cleaned it up.
Right, a whole other world right outside our doorstep. Can you describe some of the most pressing issues facing our oceans today and how Clean Ocean Action addresses them?
Sure. Well, that's, we work to address pollution issues primarily, but also any ocean industrialization issues that have come about. We've been fighting fossil fuel development in the ocean for many, many years. We're now raising concerns about massive industrialization in terms of power plants for the ocean, and carbon sequestration and aquaculture, which would add fish farming with all of the pharmaceuticals and pollution that comes along with those. So we're being very focused on trying to address those issues and raise questions about these activities because they could cause significant harm to the ocean. And we've worked very, very hard over the years to clean up the ocean. We were once the ocean dumping capital of the world, and we all worked very, very hard to clean it up. And as we were just talking about, the ocean is now thriving with marine life, and we want to keep it that way.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And especially because you're addressing root issues, things that you have to start right at the root of the problem.
Absolutely.
And Rally for the Waterways is a program that works to improve water quality in coastal watersheds, and local residents can participate in Rally for Barnegat Bay. Can you tell us more about this initiative?
Sure. The Rally for the Waterways is a program to really just engage at finding the sources of pollution. We want to find them and we want to fix them. And the primary focus is pathogen pollution. That's the pollution that we call pollution, and that's the pollutant that will make us unwell or sick and can cause human adverse effects. And sometimes it closes beaches. Sometimes people might hear of beach closures, particularly around the Toms River area. So our mission in the Rally for the Barnegat Bay is to track down the potential sources of those pathogen pollutants. And once we find them, we can fix them. And a key element of this is to engage not just community members in citizen science by having volunteers actually do the sampling, but also all of the municipalities, because all of the municipalities have to work together. We really emphasize a no blame game. When we find a source of pollution, we don't want a big debate about a blame game. We just want to find that source of pollution and fix it by working together. And that way we not only find those sources of pollution, but we can raise the awareness about pollution levels, to more broadly. And I know, for example, Save Barnegat Bay has tremendous programs that raise public awareness about, and the college here too, the Ocean County College, they have programs. It's all interrelated so that we can just raise the awareness about how we all contribute to pollution in the waterways, and we can all contribute to the solution.
Right, and especially because it's the summertime and a lot of folks want to go down to the beaches to swim, we don't realize the impact that we have on the water quality and the health risks that it presents. What can we do to avoid these risks before swimming?
Well, one of the things to do is to just be aware of your surroundings. One of the key sources of polluted water is storm drains, and they have outlets into waterways. Some of them are in the ocean, some of them are in our rivers. So it's probably wise not to swim near storm drains, especially after rainfall, because that's where all the waterway, all our lands get washed off and cleaned off with all the water, and it all runs into the storm drains with all the pollution. And one of the most visible signs is litter, but that's the plastics that we all see, but in there also is a pathogen. So stay away from storm drains. That would be the best thing, a way to minimize your exposure to pollution.
Certainly, certainly. And especially because protecting our beaches is such a core part to the Jersey identity.
Right.
You host beach sweeps in over 80 locations along the Jersey Shore. What impact does this have on our waterways?
Well, I think it has a tremendous impact because it's a great program from the small and the tall to get involved in, right? Everybody can join, and little ones are really close to the beach, and they can pick up little items, and moms and dads. And so it's been going on now it's been going on almost for 40 years that we've been doing the beach sweeps. And so we've collected millions of items from the beach. So we give the beach a good clean sweep twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. We do that to capture data, not just to remove the debris from the beaches, but to capture data of what we're finding, so that then we can use that information as evidence to move the public policies or the public behavior that we need in order to minimize the amount of plastics that are getting into our waterways.
Right. And with the research that you have found through those beach sweeps, how did that data allow you to make the changes that you wanted to present to our local county?
Yeah, it's really exciting. We've been able to get the beach sweep data to make to actually pass ordinances in local towns, but more and more we actually got to help to get a state law passed. Many people may recall the plastic bag ban bill, but it was also a styrofoam container ban bill, and minimize the amount of straws. So the straws are now, you're supposed to get them on request. No restaurant or any public facility should be providing you a straw immediately. You have to ask for a straw. That one is not that well implemented, but anywhere you go, you should not see any more plastic bags. Those single-use plastic bags are now unlawful. Right. And so now it's just bring your own. And that's the behavior change that we're trying to get people to kind of understand, is that there's simple things that we can do that really minimize the amount of plastics that will be in our world, which not only affect our world and marine life. As you can imagine, marine life can eat these items, and it's sometimes lethal or can maim marine life, but it's also not healthy for us. Right. So it's a win-win to eliminate as much plastic as you can from your life.
Right. A single step can take you a mile's worth.
Right.
So what I'm curious is, how can one get involved with these beach sweeps?
Well, we have them, as I said, once in the spring and once in the fall. So the next one coming up is October 19th, and we have 80 locations for people to choose, and most likely it's at your favorite beach. If not, if you'd like to be a beach captain and take on a beach that doesn't have a cleanup activity, we're always open to that as well. We also have a junior beach captain program as well for high school students to step up and become leaders in their community to work on these issues. And we have the data. We issue a report every year that adds the spring data and the fall data into one big report, so people can look at what is being found and see that in 1 year, we have maybe 6,000 or 7,000 people that collect 350,000 items off the beaches. So that makes the beaches healthier, it makes the ocean healthier, and it creates that database that we can then use to try to drive public policy changes and human behavior.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I want to touch back on a point that you mentioned earlier, and how plastic waste is often a contaminant that affects air, water, and land.
Right.
What can we do to keep our environment free from this type of marine debris?
Well, the answer is to minimize and eliminate as much plastic as you can from your life, because plastic is from fossil fuels, and we're all knowing that our use of fossil fuels, our excessive use of fossil fuels, is adding to a very accelerated climate change impact that we're all aware of and that we really need to address. And one way to do it is to minimize the use of plastic. You not only actually minimize the impact on climate change, but you also make yourself healthier, you make your community healthier. It really is a one-step way of affecting a lot of positive outcome in your community.
Right. Very simple changes that can result in big changes.
Right, exactly.
And especially because if we have to start up on that, it all starts with awareness.
Right.
What programs do you have to teach others about protecting our ocean environment?
Right. Well, I think that, that is the cornerstone, right? That is, education is where it all starts. And all of our programs have an educational component to them. We do a lot of presentations in schools. We have a lot of school programs. We have an Eco Fest. We go out to and attend lots of different tabling opportunities throughout, the state. There's so many wonderful environmental and educational programs out there throughout the state of New Jersey that we provide information about our work to help them understand and share. And it's all sort of interrelated. It's, a very big community. And if we all become aware of each other's activities, a rising tide lifts all boats. So we really do try to, have exchanges with other organizations and things like that. But we have many, many, many programs. If people are interested, they can go to our website, which is cleanoceanaction.org, and find out more. But there's lots of room for people to get involved in our programs.
Right. And looking to the future, what are some of the goals and aspirations that Clean Ocean Action hopes to achieve in the coming years?
Well, that's a really great, we would love to have to just sort of cancel the beach sweeps because there's no more litter on our beaches. Our beaches are clean naturally, and that would be a big goal. That would be success. Success also would mean that our ocean is thriving with marine life and all of those species and the biodiversity that we talked about, and that it's healthy and that there isn't any harmful industrialization that's going to change the ecosystem and harm, the migration patterns of marine life. And then thirdly, that we should not worry at any point when we go into the ocean and dive in, that we know that the water is going to be clean and healthy and that it won't be affected by pathogen pollution of any kind. So those are the big picture goals, is to make it safe for fish and families and everyone to be able to thrive, because a healthy ocean is also our best buffer to climate change. Mm-hmm. The ocean absorbs much of the heat, and it is really our ecosystem and our really, for our lives, our best natural resource.
Right. So how can viewers volunteer with or donate to your organization to help you in your efforts?
Oh, well, thank you. That's wonderful. Well, they could go to our website, is the easiest thing to do, that cleanoceanaction.org, and they can, sort of take a tour through all the different programs and activities that we're working on. There's lots of different tabs. It's a little old-fashioned, but it's got lots of great information for people to get involved in the water quality programs, the beach sweeps programs, our advocacy programs, all different kinds of activities for people to get involved in.
Right. And for our audience, something that they can take away from as they consider the environment that they affect, what are some items or things that we should keep in mind of, that we should be more mindful of recycling or taking care of? Right.
Well, I think that that's really the crux of all of it, right? Is be aware of the impact that you may have. Obviously littering is a really bad idea, because that's just winds up in our waterways. Just everything that you do, have a sense of how is this going to impact the environment. Think about think about reducing the amount of garbage that you generate through plastic use. Reduce your use of plastic. Don't run the water as long, right? Save water, really, it's minimizing your footprint of everything that you do that will help sustain the planet. There's over 9 million of us just in New Jersey alone, and if each one of us did something positive every day, that would be over 9 million environmentally excellent efforts that could contribute to a healthier planet. But we have to do it every day. So think of every day as World Ocean Day, and every day as Earth Day, and that would be a great start.
Certainly. Thank you for your time today, Cindy.
Oh, thank you, Nathan. That was really fun.
We would also like to thank both of our guests for providing insight in how we can protect the environment. Our environment, which gives us clean air, food, and water every day, is something that we often overlook. We encourage you to take up the opportunity in immediately applying what we learned here today and being more mindful of the impact we have on the ecosystem. For Shore Support, I'm Nathan Magno, and thank you for watching.